Well, David, you've done with these two journeys now 10, 12,000 miles, I think. What do you think what's the takeaway? What have you learned?
The West Coast was just a joy because the scenery is so spectacular, so breathtaking all the way along that coast. What strikes me the most about East Coast is how bad and dire the situation really is. When Superstorm Sandy hit New York City, that was the catalyst for me to do this book. But I just didn't want to show flooding and displacement and damage. What I wanted to do was let the imagination do the work. By getting up in the air and seeing the sea at the brim, and the closeness, and the fact that there's nowhere to run. And then let the imagination say, I can see what can happen.
Sea levels are rising, and most of this landscape is being flooded. So the sea, at the moment, is your enemy. It's an interesting contrast between, for instance, the West Coast. That's landscape that's being made, manufactured. This is landscape which is being eroded, and dangerously, because of global warming and climate change, which is why I hope this book can at least galvanize some people, can electrify them with the realization that you should not build cities here anymore unless you take prudent steps to make sure that you don't get flooded out of existence. The vulnerability of the East Coast is what's the major contrast between this and the West Coast.
And what it took me to do to really appreciate it was to get up in the air. By doing so, you put these great American cities on the East Coast into an environmental context with the sea. I think the most extraordinary sight that I saw on this odyssey was the Jakobshavn ice fjord, just above the Arctic Circle. And there the ice is pouring
moving
out
so
of
fast,
there.
isn't it?
It's just these huge chunks of ice, breathtakingly stunning and frightening.
The East Coast of North America is where this is really most dramatically evident.
Yes.
Not least because there are so many cities. This is humankind in chimneys and condominiums and the expressways. And this is what's making the vulnerable vulnerable.
It's a huge, huge problem that is begging to be solved, but everyone seems frozen in place, no pun intended.
I was going to say frozen in time.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes,
That's
indeed.
what we're waiting for.
Frozen in time.